Hey guys, what's going on? This is Rick, the Middle Class Millennial, bringing you guys part 7 and the final part of this installment, where we're going to be putting shelving in the garage and painting and making it look good. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, first off, some of the basic tools you're going to need. You're going to want a stud finder of some sort. You're going to want a pencil, and you're going to want a tape measure, and you're going to want some kind of chalk line or a string to make sure the shelving is level before you mount the brackets. Or you could have what I have, which is a fancy dancy laser level, but this was expensive, kind of a group purchase, so I don't necessarily recommend this for everybody. But anyway, we're going to be using this laser. This is a self-leveling laser, so as you can see, it's already leveled with both the front of the garage and back. We're going to be doing one tall span on top and then one span on the bottom, 10 inches thick all the way across. And we're going to be doing, probably have the wood cut in the middle, but we'll be doing one big span on each end. So anyway, we're going to check our reference points. I'm also going to check if the ground is level on both ends with that laser real quick. So looking about 68.5 inches on the front, a little under 68 over here, so we're looking about 67.5. So there is a slope downward, which is good. That's what you want for a garage. Anyway, so first thing, we're gonna find the studs. This stud finder will let me know where the stud is at underneath the drywall. It'll pinpoint exactly where it's at, and then I'm gonna mark it with the pencil. I'm gonna mark each stud because we're gonna want a bracket, at least every other stud, or where there's gonna be significant amount of weight. I want these shelves to at least hold some weight on them. All right, I have the bottom laser set. Wish it was a little bit higher, but I have to have some clearance here. The shelving is 1 inch thick. We have a little bit over 1 inch underneath here, so I'm not forcing it underneath the trim here, and there's room for it to breathe. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and try to line our studs up with the bottom. They should line up, and mark them. I don't know if it's hard to see, but I went ahead and marked everything. I just shut off the laser. As you can see, we got stud 16 on center. Now, I don't know about you guys, but we don't need that many brackets. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna calculate which ones we need, because I'm thinking about putting them every other stud. And what I'll do is I'll put an X above where I want each bracket to go. So I'll do 2 over here on this side of the window. So 4 there. I'm gonna do one directly on the other side of the window because there's a bit of a span there that needs brackets. And I'm gonna do 1 there, 1 here, 1 here, and here. So now we're left with these in the middle that I'm contending with here. So, let's think. I still have to cut the shelves into different spans. So what I'm debating on doing here is if we have to shimmy the shelves around, we want it, like for example, if I cut the shelf in half over here somewhere, I want to be able to do that span. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna get 4 extra brackets. I am gonna need them for some other projects here in the garage. I'm gonna be doing other shelving. So we'll go ahead and do 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 8-inch wide brackets we're gonna put 10-inch shelves on there, but it'll be 8 inches protruding brackets. So anyway, let's go ahead and get the brackets. All right, I went ahead and picked up 16 of these brackets. Now they're 8 by 10. Before I mount them, I wanna get some pilot holes set. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line my brackets up to the wall here and mark where I wanna put my pilot holes. I do have an impact driver, but I'm only gonna pilot hole into the drywall. And the reason for that is I don't want the bracket to shift left or right or up or down while I'm driving the fasteners into the wall. Using an inch 5/8 screw, the drywall is 5/8 thick, so we'll get a good inch into the wood. Might want to go get my extender. There you go. All right, we're now on to using the router to get a nice edge. Unfortunately, I don't have good enough sawhorses to make a good table to elevate this router, so I'm just gonna have to crawl on the ground, which is no big deal. I'd rather have a solid foundation than something that's wobbly. I already did a test board, as you can see. I'd recommend testing it, getting it calibrated first on a piece of scrap before you actually run your board if by accident. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. All right, make sure when you're done borrowing tools, you return them cleaner than when you got them. Alrighty, once you're done routing, go ahead and get yourself some fine sandpaper and finally sand off the edges where you routed the curved edge out, just to get all the slivers and stuff out of it, for the most part. So you got a nice smooth edge when you paint. People aren't scuffing their shoulders and stuff on your shelving when they get out of the car, for example. Also, this little chunk of wood taken out here, we're gonna put some plastic wood over that before we paint it, and I'll show you guys that in a sec. All right, I went ahead and put the shelves on, and I gotta say I am very impressed. It really is spot on level. That laser level really helped. I mean, you got a little bit off here or two by like a 1/16 of an inch, but it looks really good. You'll also have some gaps in the wall here, but that's because the wall is not perfectly square either, just like most structures are. But other than that, I am very impressed. The next thing we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to plastic wood up our holes here, sand them flat, and get these shelves primed and painted. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull them off the brackets, get them primed and painted, then we'll put them back, and then we'll screw them down, and we can finally start putting stuff on them. Also, to guarantee a smooth finish, make sure you guys sand between the coats. I'm using 220 fine grain sandpaper. We're gonna go ahead and sand all sides here before we put on our second coat of paint. This time also allows you to sand off any imperfections like droplets and stuff, where you got any bulges in the paint. And if you get it down to wood, like I said, you can just cover it up again. It's not a huge deal. That's the point of sanding, getting all these imperfections out. Here we go. It's flat. All right, we now have the top shelf done. We're gonna go ahead and fasten the shelf to the bracket itself with some little screws. Let me show you. All right, before you screw them in, I got 1/2" little screws here. You can also verify by lining them up to the wood. Make sure the screw is short enough that it's not gonna go all the way through. And this bracket's got 3 mount points just like it does on the wall, so. Doesn't have to be real tight, just tight enough to hold it in there. I'd recommend putting all 3 in just so, you know, one screw's not holding the weight of everything, because one concern you could have is you could have somebody come in here and they put a bunch of weight in the front of the shelf and it puts a lot of strain on this screw, but if they're all working together, the odds of this flipping off is not gonna happen. Yep. All right, I had to take this off and flip it back around because this is for the hose. By the way, this is a first alert extinguisher. The bracket is sold separately. So just be mindful of that. If you want to hang it up, you're going to have to purchase the bracket. There we go. All right. Nice. All right, that concludes the final part of this garage finishing series. Later on, I'm going to be doing insulating my garage door and replacing the gasket on my door and putting a garage door opener in. But I think I'm going to release those as separate videos, even though I probably put them on the same garage playlist. But before I get going, let me just do some recap on this whole thing. First off, the costs of everything. I added everything up. So the cost of everything except the drywall, because I got most of the drywall for free from my work, the 5/8 that I used. But it includes the paint, the trim, the shelving, the obscured windows, the fire extinguisher, thermostat, everything that you saw me put together in these parts, heat detector, wiring, electrical, light fixtures, pegboard, which is behind you here. All of that, the cost and installation and all of that came out at $2,983.60. If you're wondering, these are all the receipts for this whole project. So I could have easily had saved $1,000 or more probably by using cheaper materials. I could have also not chose to mud everything out fine. I could have just done basic fire taping and been good for fire code requirements. But the reason I went all the way out on this is I do have a big announcement coming up here not long after this video is released, but this was kind of training wheels for me on a bigger project I have coming up. I'm going to be doing a lot of drywall work from scratch here coming up, and I wanted to practice in a garage and not a living space first. And so this was a big step forward for me. I've done drywall in the past, like I redid my kitchen, did bathroom, did patch holes, things like that, but I hadn't done it from scratch like I did here. And so it was a big learning experience for me, and I'm glad I did it. As far as, if you guys are wondering, you know, the $3,000 price tag for that, yeah, you could have saved $1,000 in materials to get in cheap materials. You could have also not done drywall or anything and probably spent less than $1,000 if you just wanted to do electrical. Just depends on how much you want to do. If you were to hire this out, I'm going to tell you right now, it'd be easily double the cost, if not more, because the labor to do the drywall work, it takes time. You're probably looking at $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 if you wanted to hire this from start to finish out, if you're curious. So either way, my advice on this, guys, is somebody like me that's not a contractor, take your time. You're not going to be perfect, obviously. I know there's going to be people, I've seen them all the time. I believe contractors that are more proficient in these fields, they'll critique me on things that I probably should have done better, and I'm welcome to your feedback because I'm sure you're right on a lot of that stuff. You know, for me, it's new. This is a new frontier for me, and I'm glad I tackled it. As far as my other reviews coming up, my Ego review on the inverter and some other stuff I talked about coming up, I'm going to get to that when I can get to it. I'm probably going to be shooting for this winter on that because I have all these projects in the way I need to tackle right now as I got another kid coming. So for right now, this is getting projects done is more important to me right now than doing reviews. But when I get the chance, when I slow down on projects, I will be squeezing those in there. So if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, you guys, take care.